Even if you just put it over your face to block the light out. And then you can have your hands wherever you're comfortable. On the sides, you can have them on your belly. It's kind of nice to be able to keep track of the breath with the hands on the belly. Go ahead and close your eyes. I want to talk a little bit or just bring up one of the limbs of yoga, which comes before our concentration and meditation, and that's pratyahara, which is sense withdrawal. And sense withdrawal works really nicely with a restorative class. One of the reasons that we try to train the brain to react differently to stress is so we can have a response instead of a reaction. So even though there are probably noises nearby or distractions that are out of your control, either outside of the room you're in or inside of the room you're in, try to see if you can just start to withdraw your senses, kind of noticing the noises happening around you. And then very slowly pulling that awareness to the inside of the body. And as you continue to settle into this posture, continue to focus on the breath, limiting any external noise or reaction to what noise is happening. Begin to deepen your inhalations, elongating the exhalations. Moving slowly as we bend the knees one at a time. We can take the blankets off or leave them there while we roll onto our side and gently come back to a seated position. Good. For the next one, we're going to need the block. We'll use a blanket. And we'll use a bolster. So, Jesse, you can roll one of the blankets or even, roll both the blankets. And you're going to use a pillow at the top for your head. The bolster is going to be longwise on the mat. These I'm going to move out of the way here. This will be for between the knees. And this is going to be for the head. So using a pillow, you're going to fold it in half. But with the blanket, I want you to go longwise. And then once we are, especially for you, Barbara, because your bolster is nice and big, you're probably going to take the blanket and fold it in half for supporting the head. Okay? So we're going to be lying on our side. We're going to kind of just spill the right side of our body over the bolster or the rolled up blankets. Block between the knees, supporting the head. Left arm will just stay on the body and the right arm is going to stay straight out. The bolster is going to be right below the ribs. So having this slight sensation of opening the left side of the body. And be sure that you're able to rest here. The important thing about these postures is having the ability to rest within the pose. So if you're not comfortable, adjust until you are comfortable, whether that's bringing your knees closer to the body or not having the block at all. Feeling supported is really important here. Relax the tongue, relax the jaw. This practice is very nurturing and mothering. So as we go through each movement, think of this as a way you're giving back to yourself, having compassion for yourself, and just be observant as we take the external stimulations and start to draw within. Soften with each exhale. And feel supported here. Coming back to the breath as an anchor. Begin to deepen your breath into the left lung, expanding the rib cage. And then begin to move slowly and mindfully, removing any props. And sitting yourself up slowly, adjusting the props as needed, and rolling onto the other side. Now lying the left side of the body over the bolster. Placing the block between your knees and having that support for the head and neck. Keeping the left arm straight and then resting the right arm on top of the body. And take a moment or two to adjust, being sure the bolster is not poking you in the ribs, but it's supporting underneath the ribs. And then begin to pay attention to the external sounds around you, outside of your house, and then inside the room that you're lying in. And then bringing it internal to the breath. Begin to deepen your inhalations, breathing into the right lung, expanding the rib cage front to back. And then slowly begin to move, removing any props. Slowly and mindfully coming up to a seated position. Moving nice and slow. Our next posture is going to be child's pose, supported child's pose. Supta Balasana. So you're going to take your block and set it on the medium setting. So not tall, not flat, in the middle. And then you're going to put your bolster on top of the block. Jesse, you're gonna stack your pillows up there, and you're gonna try to get, if you actually have another pillow and another blanket, that might be good for you, even though you're pretty flexible. Or grab another pillow for yourself if you can. I have a blanket on top of the bolster. Barbara, you might not need anything extra because your bolster is a nice size. We're just trying to get as much height as we can, but we want the space underneath here for our arms. And then you can take your other bolster, Barbara, and put that behind your legs. That should give you enough height. I have the blanket and the pillow that I'm using for height. So Jesse, you're going to put whatever pillow you have, and you're gonna basically, like, you're gonna sit on it. Once your big toes are together and your knees are apart, you just wanna make sure you have something to support you under your bottom. And then you wanna make sure that this is high enough. Arms underneath in the little space here. So that you're feeling more rested and supported than you feel like a hip stretch, okay? I'm gonna come see how you are. And Barbara, is your mat soft enough for your knees, or do you feel like you might want to put a blanket where your knees are going to be? Because if you need to put cushion underneath your knees, I would use a blanket for that.
Thank you.
How are you doing, Jesse? Good? You got enough height? Okay. And having something under your tush is actually nice and supportive too. Okay. Good. And then wrap your arms underneath. Make any last minute adjustments. And again, continue to pull the senses in, quieting the nervous system. Training the mind to respond instead of react. So getting our nervous system to a point where if we were to hear, a bottle drop in the background right now, instead of having a startled response, we might just be aware that it happened. That's what we're trying to achieve here. Notice where you might be gripping. Bring your breath to those areas and ask them to soften and give them permission to let go. It might be the feet, it might be the hips, it might be the neck. Even if you feel you've softened, try to consciously go a little bit further Begin to deepen your inhalations here. And before we do any moving of the body, lift the head just a little bit so you can switch your neck and rest on your on your other cheek for a moment. And then we'll carefully press the hands to the mat. Let the body feel heavy as you push yourself up. Moving the bolster and the block and the blankets off to the side. So maybe you can stretch your legs for a moment before we move on. Once you're finished stretching, go ahead and sit up. We're going to do a supported back bend with Baddha Konasana legs. So the soles of the feet will be together. If you have a bolster, put the bolster on the mat. And then that's pretty much all you're going to need, unless if you want to support your knees, you can do that by putting a pillow on either side of the mat. So when your knees are open, they can feel supported. If you're already using your blankets and pillows as the bolster, which by the way, Jesse, if you roll your blanket really tightly, that should help. You can roll 2 blankets together. But try to get as much height as you can. And you want the back to be not right up against the bolster, but just like a couple inches away. So then it starts to feel supported like right around where the curve is going to be, not necessarily the sacrum. So you'll support the spine. Be sure that the head is supported as well. Bring the bottoms of the feet together and then scooch the pillows in close to the thighs. Or just decide where they're supported best for you. Make any last minute adjustments. And Jesse, I think last time you didn't have anything under your knees, so you can even just have everything for your bolster if you want. I think your knees were able to hang open comfortably, but if you can support them, okay, good. Yes, anytime you can cover up, cover up. Are you putting them around the feet? Yeah, good. That's a great idea.
I do want my bolsters lengthwise, right? Not.
Correct. Yep. Yep. Reading the spine. So it should be long, supporting the spine that way. Yes. And then whatever, you can start your hands in one place. If you feel like you need to move them, go ahead and move them. We're going to be in this posture for a good amount of time. So just begin to soften. And if for any reason it begins to be too much of a back bend, just roll onto your side and we'll meet there. And come back to that pratyahara, the sense withdrawal. Outside of the room. The noises inside of the room. And then internal, within the body. Hearing the breath, feeling the breath. And any other sensations that are happening right now. Continue to soften. And continue to feel completely supported. Allow your inhalations to begin to deepen. Long, slow exhalations. And after another breath or two, bring the hands to the legs to safely bring the knees back together. And then roll off of your bolster or blankets. Just roll onto your right side or left, whatever's easiest. And then carefully push yourself up. We'll get ready for our last posture. You are both near a wall, correct? Or have a wall nearby?
Maybe.
Okay. I'll give you two options then. We can, well, I wanted to do legs up the wall, Viparita Karani. And even if you have your legs up on the back of your couch, Jessie, that, will be a heavy enough support. What do you think, Barbara?
I can make it work.
Okay. Go ahead and just pull your mat where it will line up so you can lie on your mat and have your legs up the wall. Bring your props with you, of course. So we want to take one blanket, and that's going to support our lower lumbar. So it doesn't have to be too high. You could try the bolster, Barbara, but it might be a little bit high. Unless you've done it before and know that it'll be okay. But otherwise, just have a little bit of height there. Keep the other blanket nearby. And then we'll just use a pillow to support the head. We're gonna bring the left hip up to the wall. Can you see me enough? This is the wall right here. Okay. All right, so we're gonna do that and then just swing the legs up. You might need to shimmy a little bit, adjust the pillow. That blanket should be right on the lower lumbar. Just a little bit of support. And then again, you can cover yourself with the other blankets. If your hamstrings are tight, you'll be a little bit further away from the wall. It takes a little bit of energy to keep the legs up. Next time we'll actually use a strap to keep the legs together. But for now, we'll just start with this. And after about 5 minutes or so, I'm going to guide you to just bend the knees. And then we might open up the legs one more time. I'll just give you the choice. Your hands can stay on your belly. Find a comfortable spot for your hands. Good. The one, there's a couple things about Zoom, and one of them is I would be able to grab that blanket for you and cover you up so you wouldn't have to move. You are going to notice some sensation in the legs, and we're just going to sit with that. Try to sit with it as long as you can. Just come back to the anchor of the breath. Notice where the points of contact are with the body and the mat or the blanket. Go ahead and slowly bend the knees one at a time. Staying here for a few moments, either keeping the feet flat or letting the knees hang open. I wanted to read you something by Swami Vivekananda. It's one of the important figures bringing yoga to America. And it's about pratyahara. There's a pretty Indian fable to the effect that if it rains when the star Swatki is in ascendance and a drop of rain falls into an oyster, that drop becomes a pearl. The oysters know this, so they come to the surface when the star appears and wait to catch the precious raindrops. When the drops fall into them, quickly the oysters close their shells and dive down to the bottom of the sea, waiting there patiently to develop the raindrops into pearls. You should be like that. First hear, then understand, and then leaving all distractions, shut your minds to outside influences and devote yourselves to developing the truth within you. On your next exhalation, slowly bring the knees back together if they aren't already. And then roll onto your side, using your arm as a pillow. And if your body needs a stretch here, you can go ahead and stretch or just be still. Letting the head be the last thing that comes up. Press yourself carefully into a seated position. Bring your hands together in front of your heart. Thank you for letting me guide you this evening. The teacher in me honors and appreciates the teacher in you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
I had some help with the poses.